What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages? This is Black Mercury here, bringing you my first of hopefully many 2013 and beyond Magic tips and deck construction. For the first one thing I want to talk about is what's big in 2013 is going to be Goblins, and a lot of people have already bought out the Grinko Mob Boss Goblin deck, and I want to go through a little bit of what it is and my twist on it to make it a lot better of a deck. And so the first thing you're going to need is Grinko the Mob Boss, obviously, and if you read his ability, it's 4 mana cost, 2 colorless and 2 red, and it says tap, put X 1/1 red goblin tokens on the battlefield where X is the total number of goblins you control. So this is really good for you, and I can't stress enough that Grinko is the main part of this deck. You'll see others that come, such as Arms Dealer and Stuffy Doll and Divine Reflection, but those are kind of minor compared to Grinko. Grinko is the bread and butter of this Goblin deck. You know, he can make goblins. He's just there. It's a really annoy people, and like I said, Grinko can be an amazing asset to the team. So the second one I want to talk about is Arms Dealer. Arms Dealer is 3 mana cost, it's a 1/1, and you tap 1 and 1 colorless and 1 mana to sacrifice a goblin and deal 4 damage to target creature. And you know, with all those goblins you're making with Grinko, you can just see how you can do damage to your opponent that way. You know, taking out those big creatures that you may not be able to block with Grinko, or or any other goblins you may have on your deck. If you're running solely a red deck, which I don't advise running just solely a red deck, and I'll get into that in a little bit, why you should run a dual color deck, not just because, you know, everyone runs at least 2 colors, but we'll get on to that later. So the third piece that you really need to have in this deck is Stuffy Doll, and Stuffy Doll may seem like a crap load for 5 mana cost. Stuffy Doll enters the battlefield, choose a player. When Stuffy Doll is indestructible, whenever Stuffy Doll is dealt damage, deal that much player to chosen. When deal damage, deal that much damage to chosen player, and you can tap it to deal 1 damage. Now you may think, well, no, for 1 damage a turn, it's not going to really do much for me for my 5 mana cost. But think about it. Think about what we said at the very beginning about Grinko. Grinko is making those goblins for you every turn, and he's gonna double your goblins every turn. And then you have Arms Dealer sacrificing those and dealing 4 damage to any target creature, which you can deal to Stuffy Doll. That's right, deal 4 damage to Stuffy Doll, and that 4 damage automatically goes to that player instead of its player's creatures. And plus, when you have a Stuffy Doll, you don't need to tap it to deal 1 more damage, because you can just use it to block creatures, or you can do it to tap it. Either one, but personally for me, I would keep it untapped just so I could block players, and it would deal 1 damage because it dealt 1 damage to technically kill it, sent to the graveyard. But that's just me, I wouldn't untap it. But the next 2 or 3 things are totally up to you whether you want to run these. These are just really good for you. The first one is Goblin Arsonist. It's, you know, an easy way to get creatures onto the battlefield in the beginning of turns. It's only 1 red mana cost, and so when Goblin Arsonist dies, you may have it deal 1 damage to target creature or player. Now, when Arms Dealer sacrifices a creature for 2 mana cost, it can be any goblin, which means you can sacrifice Goblin Arsonist, and it will deal 1 damage to target player. And then if you deal that 4 damage to Stuffy Doll, that's 5 damage right there in 1 turn dealt to your opponent, which is really good considering the fact you start with only 20 life. So that's, in 1 turn, you can deal 1/4 of his total health, barring he doesn't have something like Bountiful Harvest or anything like that will, or Angel's Mercy, that will increase his health. But no, these are unblockable points really, unless you have a few other items that they run. But you know, for the most part, you know, unless it's a blue deck running Redirect or you know, Mana Leak or Divine Deflection, which we'll talk about in a little bit, that will help you with this deck. That you can just really wreak havoc with Goblin Arsonist and everything like that. Another creature finishing up this red side of this deck is Krinko's Command. Now, Krinko's Command puts 2 goblins onto the battlefield, and those can be used as death fodder to block creatures. Those can be used as tapping, or those can be used to sacrifice to Arms Dealer to deal more damage to either another creature or Stuffy Doll. And you guys don't have to deal damage to Stuffy Doll. If there's a big creature, there's like an 8/8 creature, or there's Primordial Hydra out, which is a really big green creature that can get really big really fast. You can sacrifice 3 goblins, have each deal 4 damage, and there you go, it's down. Or there's just a lot of stuff in this game. You can even deal it to planeswalkers, such as Nicholas Bolas, or which he may not really be played much, but he's definitely one of the most lethal planeswalkers out there once you get him onto the battlefield. So you don't have to deal that damage what Arms Dealer does to Stuffy Doll or anything like that. And for me personally, I would not run this deck solely red, just because there's so much things. Yes, you can run Combust, and you can run Searing Spear, which is another helpful thing. It deals 3 damage to target creature or player. So that's another 3 damage that you can definitely deal to your opponent. But I would run blue, solely because of white. And that's what I run in my Goblin deck. I run white mainly because I pulled Sublime Archangel at the pre-release, and I was like, hey, this is really, really good. But you can do it so you can run things like Pacifism, which says, excuse me, real quick, tap 1 colorless and 1 white, and enchant creature and creature can't attack or block. So you're limiting people. So you can turn a red deck into this red-white deck into a control deck, just dealing 4 damage to creatures or players, and stuff like that. With the white side, you don't have to run Chandra, which really isn't the best planeswalker. You can run Janji, which is the most sought-after planeswalker in 2013. You can run a lot of other stuff. What I do is I run on my white side. I run an exalted white part with Sublime Archangel at the center of that, which Sublime Archangel pretty much means all of the creatures have exalted, so it's really good. And one thing I could suggest to you is Thunderous Wrath would be good for this deck. Thunderous Wrath deals 5 damage to target creature or player, and it has a miracle cost of only 1 red. And for those of you guys who don't know what miracle means, it means if you draw it when you draw it, if it's the first card you draw this turn, you can do it with that. Otherwise, you have to pay 6 mana for it, and it doesn't really worth it. And so, what I would do in this deck, and one more thing before I tell you what the numbers are, is I would run Divine Reflection, which pretty much means it's 1 planes and X of colorless, and it negates all of that damage done to you and deals it to a target creature. So let's say you don't tap any mana 1 turn, and you don't play any creatures, you don't deal it to Arms Dealer, or let's say you're running low on Goblins, so you want to keep them up with for next turn, so you can double it with Greenco. You cannot block with anyone, and when they hit attacks and you don't block, you run Divine Deflection, deal all that damage back to Stuffy Doll, and there you go. You have a lot more damage coming at you. So here's what I would suggest, just as some numbers. I would run 3 Krinkos, 4 Arms Dealers, 4 Goblin Arsonists, and a lot of other ones that you can read. And I'll leave, probably either the description or right up on the screen right now, all the numbers for the red side, and you can experiment with the other side. But that's up with this red Goblin deck. So until next time, guys, have a great day, great night, wherever you are, and as always, peace.